Okay, what I'm going to do at this point now, I'm going to go ahead and put there's a couple of reasons. Okay, so I mentioned earlier on that I didn't put these out according to their country because I didn't want you to have established favorites. So you can just taste the coffees. And the other side is that countries don't grow coffee. Countries don't grow coffee, people do. So I used those other descriptions on that. And this one. Right, okay. So, oh, Karnataka. So did I fool you on one of them? Which one would you do?
Guatemala is the one that I said I don't want anymore.
Exactly.
I don't like
yeah, that's right. That's true. Yeah.
But it may be our brewer.
Well, yeah, and different. That is a good point. Brewing devices definitely have an effect on flavor quality. And your particular brewer is like the Mack truck of coffee brewers. It gets the job done, but it ain't going to be pretty.
Yeah.
It's just going to get it done.
It's not refined.
Yeah, exactly. It's just going to bulldoze its way through, and you're going to have coffee all day long. Yeah. Subtlety is not its forte. All right, let's go back to our clipboards now. I think it'd be a good time to let's get this stuff written down while it's still in our heads. Because as soon as you leave this room, you're going to forget which one was what, especially since I hid the familiar names from you, right? Okay, so let's start. Let's start with the Ethiopia. Oh, right over here, going the wrong way. The Ethiopia. Everybody got a pen? Okay. I have found that of all the important things to do during a cupping, this is the most important. If you don't get it written down, it will never switch from episodic to semantic. We remember semantic much easier than episodic. All you're going to remember, if you left right now, all you remember is like, man, those coffees really tasted different. And I remember that one, and we were tasting that one, but the whole thing will just kind of fall to the cracks. So it's critical at this point to go ahead and write it out. We got Ethiopia. It says a state or cooperative. It's called the Yirgacheffe. And Yirgacheffes are, you know you've got a great Yirgacheffe when you get that jasmine flowery quality to it. That signals a Yirgacheffe. If it doesn't taste like jasmine or flowers, chances are it's just a Sidamo. It's a nice clean Ethiopia. It's probably not a Yirgacheffe. That's the identifier for Yirgacheffe. So Yirgacheffe is spelled Y-I-R-G-A-C-H-E-F-F-E. We roast dark here. That's why we roast. We roast darker than most, lighter than some. The reason why we roast the way we roast is we're roasting so that we get a maximum characteristic of aroma without having the roast take over the coffee. So we want the coffee to taste like the coffee where the roast isn't dominating, but at the same time, as we've done cups in the past, when we do these lighter roasts, you have a much more acidic quality to it. And that acidiness is ultimately not a pleasurable characteristic. So we want to roast to a point where that acidity is no longer the forefront of that coffee. All these coffees are bright, and it's something as you notice, I completely didn't talk about acidity at all. One of the favorite things for coffee cuppers to talk about is acidity. The only good thing about acidity as a coffee cupper is it tells you the coffee's fresh. And when I mean fresh, I mean fresh crop, new crop. And that's really what coffee cuppers. Acidity is kind of that idea. It's like carbonation to a soda, right? So if your soda didn't have carbonation, it'd just be flat. It wouldn't be interesting. You wouldn't like it. And that's when coffee people are talking about acidity. That's what they're talking about. But if I say acidity to you, you're going to think acidity in your stomach, and you don't want that. So the last thing and we don't do it here, as you notice, we never say, "Oh, this coffee's got a fine acid to it." All these coffees had a fine acid to it. We're not going to talk about that. We're going to put that off the side. It's simply not helpful. The concept might be kind of helpful. If you ever had a flat coffee, you're saying, "Oh, that coffee didn't do anything for me." So anyway, so this one was light bodied. We'll just leave that dog to lie. And then it said, what's the last one? Taste. It was a sweet taste, wasn't it? It was a sweet coffee. And then the last thing I say is aroma or flavor. As we mentioned earlier, this one's kind of flowery with a jasmine-like character to it. And if you look up here, when we talk about flowery, well, if actually you can look at, the better still would be, let's look at the one that says describing coffee's flavor. So if you look on your aroma spectrum chart, you'll see flowery as a characteristic, and it's right in this middle area. And then there's different kinds of flowery. There's a floralness or fragrantness. And in this case, when we're talking about it's more of a jasmine floral. So you see how it's kind of going, as you start breaking these things down, you can say flowery, it's more floral, it kind of has a jasmine-like quality to it. Right? So this is more of a semantic kind of character, breakdown, but I think it's kind of helpful as you start thinking about these different kind of aroma qualities, where there's a difference between the smell of say a jasmine, a small blossom, than there is from a large rose, a big carnation, right? They both are a floral smell, but they have very different kind of qualities to it. Where this Yirgacheffe is flowery and a jasmine, a small blossom kind of quality. Would you agree? Mm-hmm. Okay. Okay, so I write that part down, and then let's move on to our next one. Our next coffee was some coffee from India. This particular coffee is actually from the Dewan estate. It's D-E-V-A-N. Is that right? V-A-N? Is it W? Okay, that's right. They say Dewan, but it's spelled Dewan. India, what are you going to do? So it's a Dewan estate in Karnataka. Karnataka is in the southwestern area of India. It's one of the oldest areas where coffee is grown. The British took coffee over there, one of the rural areas, but it's largely a forgotten coffee on the world, certainly on the world specialty trade. Okay, so this coffee, what's our next thing? Let's skip over that roast thing. I hate talking about roast. Move on to body. This coffee it's still light, but it's maybe a little more. Let's say light to medium body, right? It's in between the two. Where the Ethiopia was clearly very light bodied, the India was a little more body, so light to medium body. The taste of this one was dry or winey. Either one, I think it's more of a dry-like quality to it. Would be my take on it. Yeah.
With the Ethiopia, even though it's really sweet, because I know a lot of the sweet coffees take to cream really well.
Yeah.
But when you sell coffee, that's the first question that I ask.
You take cream or sugar?
Yeah, because some coffees just get funky with cream and sugar.
Right.
And the sweeter coffees generally take really well to cream.
They do.
Because it makes sense.
Yeah.
The Yirgacheffe is probably the sweetest coffee.
No, I'd say it does make sense because sweet milk is ideal, right?
No, well, that's what I'm saying. No,
right.
that's what I'm, yeah.
Okay.
So with sweet coffee, it takes to cream very well.
Yeah.
The Yirgacheffe is probably one of the sweetest coffees that we have.
Yes, but
when I put cream in it,
it's gone.
It's funky, yeah.
Because there's so little body to the coffee that the milk, by its virtue of mouthfeel, it's a battle of mouthfeels, and the milk's going to win, no matter how little. Exactly. Or if you taste the flowers at all, right? It's certainly not a coffee. It's a coffee that can be easily overwhelmed, unless you're press potting it.
Yeah.
Then you have such a high coffee to water ratio that it'll kind of stand up. Yeah, it'll kind of stand up to it.